Hello, everybody. How are you guys? Let me know if you can hear me. I have my microphone on today for better audio. So let me know if you can hear me when you are joining us live. I'm just going to check on my Facebook group myself just to make sure that that I can actually hear myself. Because if not, then that would be a huge issue, right? So here we go. Let me just see if I can hear myself. There we go. Yeah, wonderful. Okay, it works. Perfect. Okay, amazing. Okay, so welcome everybody. Welcome to the challenge, this week's challenge. I'm so excited to have you guys here. We're going into day one of our 4-day Hashimoto's Without Limits challenge, the not so restrictive AIP approach to Hashimoto's healing. And we will be discovering a lot of things this week. And I am here to teach my heart out to you guys. Like I always do, I want you to walk away from this challenge with lots of tools, lots of ideas, motivation and inspiration, all of that to get started on your own journey to Hashimoto's wellness and Hashimoto's health, because it is possible. All right. Okay, everybody. So if you're joining me live, please comment hello or live in the comments. If you're watching this in the replays, comment replays. Okay, so let's get started, everybody. Welcome. So my name is Cordula Marshall. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist. I am a German citizen. However, I live in Canada. So actually, I'm a Canadian resident now. But I'm originally from Germany. I made Canada my home. I live here with my family, my 2 daughters, my dog, my 2 cats, and my husband, of course. And yeah, it's been a wonderful country for us to really grow our roots in. So this is just a little bit about me. I have been diagnosed with Hashimoto's, I will say probably about 11 years ago, but I have been suffering from Hashimoto symptoms for a very, very long time before that. So I think for me personally, my Hashimoto's probably started when I was in my teenage years, not knowing. So I had no idea what that actually is all about. I just felt off. I felt depressed. I felt bloated. I had so many digestive issues. I had fatigue. So my fatigue really kicked in my 20s. But I thought it was just because of studying and things like that. And then in my late 30s, or not mid 30s, I got my diagnosis of Hashimoto's and PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. And because I wasn't able to get the help that I really needed from out there, from practitioners, conventional medicine, like I really tried everything to get better. I was determined that I didn't want to live like this anymore. I felt terrible. But I couldn't find the help. And so I actually decided to help myself back then. And the only way I was going to be able to do that for myself was to go back to school and really study nutrition, because internally it was almost like internal pull towards the holistic approach. I knew instinctively that food has a lot to do with my recovery in the future, and nobody was able to even give me the slightest idea of how to nourish my body, besides telling me to eat just a few veggies every day and stay away from processed foods, which I had done basically my whole life. And so that was my breakthrough. I basically implemented everything that I learned at school, tinkered around with that on my own body, and I started to get into remission. So it took me about 2-3 years doing that, and I got myself into remission, and I have been in remission on and off for a very long time, and I feel really, really amazing with my Hashimoto's, to a point where I feel normal and I don't even, consider myself suffering from a autoimmune disease. And that is what I also want for you guys. I'm super excited to share with you the steps that I have taken in the very beginning and continue to implement now, as you manage the symptoms. Because I will say, and I say that all the time to all of my clients and everybody, is that a autoimmune disease is a lifelong journey. It's not something that you can kick to the curb and be done with it and go back to the old ways. It doesn't work that way. However, you are actually starting to embrace this, and you are making changes in your life, in your lifestyle, in the way you nourish yourself that make you feel so good. So good that you haven't felt like that before ever. And so you don't even want to go back to what you were doing before, and it becomes part of your life. You don't identify as having an autoimmune disease anymore, but you're well aware of that you have to tweak things here and there, and that's okay. So today we're going to be talking about gut health, which is the first biggest pillar on your journey into Hashimoto's remission. And I'm super excited to share with you not just some concepts, but also some foods that you can implement. Okay, so by the end of the challenge, you will be in a place where you have a full toolkit full of different tools you can use right away in order to help yourself and start piecing these things together. Before we go ahead and get started into the main teaching tonight, I do want to go over a few items, like some housekeeping items for you guys, so you know exactly how the challenge is going down this week. This challenge, and welcome everybody who has been here many times before. Welcome everybody who has never been here before in this challenge, or just once or twice before. Everybody's welcome. There's always new information that you can utilize. And this challenge is hands down one of the most valued events. And I call it an event because it is truly a lot of information, motivation for you, also implementation and support through the whole entire week. And it can deliver breakthroughs. So just by going through this challenge, I have had many women experience breakthroughs, gain clarity and motivation in order to turn this thing around or start on the journey the right way. So I'm hoping that this will be the case for you too. I'm super excited to help you and hold your hand during this 1 week. Okay. The only thing I would ask you to is that you engage. So everybody who is registered for this challenge, please engage. This challenge is for you, and the more you engage, the more you will get out of it. That is really key. The challenge is not just a dry webinar that gives you slideshows of different things. We're going to be talking a lot about in-depth information, similar to what I'm doing in my client sessions. So it's high value, not just fluff and not just a service level information. Okay, so really engage and make sure that you get the most out of it. Okay, so how does the challenge go down? The challenge is a 4-day event, which is going to reconnect you with the root causes and the main areas of focus in your body, which when you address consistently in the right way, will not only give you relief very quickly, but it will also set you up for long-term success and road to recovery and remission. So if that is something that you're excited about, let me know in the comments. Say yes in the comments. Heck yes, that is me. I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to commit during these 4 days so that I can really start to turn things around for me. This is what I want for you. So during the challenge, I will go live here every day at 8 o'clock. So at 8 o'clock Eastern. And then you can join us live or catch the replays. Just let me know whether you caught the replays. After each session, there is a homework thread that will go up in the group. So there are specific little homework steps that I have put together for you guys to complete during these days so that you think about the content and that you put it in place. Okay, it's really, really important. So post in the group under the homework thread how you're implementing the homework. This challenge also includes a free complimentary 30-minute breakthrough call with me. So everybody gets it. So if you want, I have made room on my calendar. So if you want to take that a little bit further and really dial in a little bit about in your own on your own symptoms and the way that you are experiencing Hashimoto's right now and how to make this content, tangible for you. Book in your breakthrough call. It's complimentary for this week only. It's a 30 to 45-minute call, depending. If you want to take advantage of that, please reach out to Janelle. Janelle is here in the group. She is your success advisor during the challenge. When you need any resources still, if you need your workbook or if you need your recipe guide, meal plan, or if you want to book in your call, reach out to Janelle and she can help you set that up for you. So if Janelle is here, maybe you can say hi in the comment too. I think she's watching live today. So everybody who is entering or who is booking in a breakthrough call with me will automatically enter a draw to win a 1-hour consultation with me for free. So this 1-hour consultation is a complete intake that includes a written nutrition supplement step-by-step protocol that I typically do for new clients, with meal plans, with recipes, with all sorts of supportive resources that help you personally get started, okay? But you need to book in the breakthrough call in order to win that consultation with me. So this is literally what we're doing. And we will do that every day at 8 o'clock here in the group. So I have sent out a workbook to everybody, so you can start to take that out now. That in itself is a great resource, and you can start to take notes. I will give you prompts as to when you can start taking notes in the workbook. Okay? So is everybody excited? I hope everybody's excited. Let's get started. Let's learn about gut health. And let's learn about some more gut healing foods that we can bring in order to heal our gut and in order to bring inflammation down. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, before we go into the nitty gritty of gut health, I wanted to quickly go into like a 30,000 foot overview, sort of like review of what autoimmune actually means, because I sometimes feel that we get stuck in on a glandular level so much that we're trying to kind of like dial in the right medication if we're on thyroid hormone replacement or anything like that. And I think we forget the fact that we really need to actually pay attention and put our focus on the immune system. So we're going to do that so that everything else that follows really makes sense to you. There's more and more women that are being inflicted with an autoimmune disease, which is a chronic inflammatory disease, right? And conventional medicine is great, but it's just not equipped to really help us with this kind of systemic inflammation. It's not because they don't want to, but it's because they have never been taught how to. They're very good at patching, symptoms up with certain medication and acute things that need to be addressed. But a chronic systemic inflammation scenario is very difficult for conventional medicine to conquer. And so I really wanted you to hone in on that word systemic, right? Because that's exactly what it is. It's a systemic inflammation, and the inflammation, the reason as to why it's going after your thyroid tissue is because your thyroid tissue has been the weakest link in your body to begin with, right? So there's a lot of similarities in terms of root causes and in terms of how autoimmune is progressing in MS and rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, thyroid Hashimoto's. But it's really the weakest link is what is being attacked first. And so you might feel that your thyroid is failing you and then you start to zone in on the thyroid foods. You know, you try to bring in the zinc and the selenium and all of the stuff that everybody tells you to, the iodine maybe, but you know, but that's not the end of the story, because you can't forget that you need to really hone in on the systemic inflammation, on the autoimmune response, right? Because if you don't do that, then you're missing the foundational work that needs to get done in the beginning. So it's really crucial to understand that, so that we can find solutions, and that is what we're here for. So we do need to support our thyroid gland for sure, and I'll give you some ideas on how you can do that later on. But the real recovery that you're seeking when it comes to digestive issues, food sensitivities, joint pain, brain fog, all of that is immune system related, and an immune system that has lost its sharpness. And it's really, really the key for gut health, because when you think about it, the gut is truly the place where the biggest part, like one of the biggest parts of your immune system sits. And we're going to be talking about that in a little bit later. So the immune system has truly lost its sharpness. It has lost the ability to differ between friend and foe. And this includes your thyroid tissues and functions, but it also includes foods, okay? So I always want to make sure that you guys understand that it's not the food that is bad for you in most cases when it comes to whole foods. So I don't want you to fear food, because it's not the food that is causing you issues per se. It is your gut environment and your immune system that has lost its edge and its sharpness. And so while right now the food is triggering you, long term, you will be able to regain the ability to bring in all of these foods, increase your digestion and absorption over time, so that you can actually nourish your body properly. Okay, so the number one root cause trigger to systemic inflammation is the gut, and that goes for everybody with Hashimoto's. So remember what I said, your immune system has lost the sharpness of differentiating between friend and foe, including foods, okay? So let me know if you guys have had ever been told that cutting out certain foods is the most important thing you'll have to do in order to get better. So meaning that with Hashimoto's, you simply cannot have certain food groups, whether that is nightshades, whether that is lectins, whether it's legumes. It's a no. So you have to stay away from them, because those foods are quote unquote bad for you. So as I said again, I want you to kind of like during this week shift away from this mindset and think about, but why is it bad for me? Like, why is it not bad for anybody else out there, but why with Hashimoto's, right? And again, it is because your gut health has been, I don't want to say compromised, but has been imbalanced for so long. And this is really the first area where you have to step in, start to realign things, start to increase your healing process, so that your resilience, your gut resilience picks up, and that you are actually able to incorporate these foods. So let me know in the comments if you are excited about including more foods, or if you're okay with cutting everything out for the rest of your life, right? I mean, some people are okay with that, because it gives them symptom relief, which is true. It gives you instant symptom relief because you're eliminating the triggers right away. But a lot of people forget that they're not bringing in the nutrients that your body needs in order to heal systemic inflammation. And so this is where the gap is, and this is what we're doing tonight. We're going to be talking about this. Okay, so the answer is, it's not the food that is bad for you, it's your gut environment. Okay, the biggest part of your gut health, or your immune system, sits in your gut. There's two parts to your gut health. environment and your immune system in the gut. And I want you to take out your workbook right now, because we are going to be actually going through the different areas in your gut health that is in direct connection with your immune system. So we're going to be doing that right now. So take out your workbook and you can start taking notes right now. Okay. Because if you really want to get into remission or on the way to remission and increase your energy, you will have to start to work on those two areas that we're going to be talking about right now. That's the most straightforward path to recovery. And it's the biggest bang for your buck if you are starting with your gut health. And that is why we're doing this in day one. So there are two components to your immune system inside your gut. In your workbook, I'm just going to pull it up here on my screen so I can see it. In your workbook, you'll see the part 1. Okay, what does gut health have to do with Hashimoto's? Poor digestion, absorption leads to inflammation, which can lead to nutrient deficiencies, which can lead to energy depletion and malfunction of different cells. So the first area that you need to address when it comes to gut health is the gut lining. Okay, so the gut lining is one of the biggest areas of inflammation that is happening in Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Let me know in the comments if you have heard about this before, if you have heard anything about, let's say, leaky gut before, or intestinal permeability. Let me know if that is something that you have heard before. I'm pulling up my screen here. Let me just see, because I think there are some comments in here I can address. Okay, perfect. Okay, wonderful. I see Anne is here. Janice is here. Amazing. Janelle is here. Shima is here. Hello, everybody. How are you guys? Okay, Anne, no, haven't heard. Okay, amazing. Beautiful. Janice says gluten, dairy, nightshades, broccoli, kale, peanuts, and so on. Yes, leaky gut. So avoid all of the above foods. Okay, amazing. Yeah. Yes, very interesting. So, and that's exactly what we're talking about here. So what we're doing is we are taking away those whole foods that have been causing us issues, and we're thinking the foods are, the instigators. But what we're not thinking is that our gut lining has become damaged. So let's talk about the gut lining. Your gut lining is literally your digestive tract starts in your mouth, right? It goes into your esophagus. It goes all the way down, all the way to your bum. It is very, very large. Like if you were to put out all of the cells of your intestinal tract, it would cover a whole tennis court. It is so big. There's a lot of stuff that's happening in your gut. It's almost like a tube that goes, that connects the outside from the inside, right? And so the intestinal lining is one cellular thick layer that separates the inside of your intestines from the bloodstream. So it is a very thin layer, and I really want you to think about that. So whatever you're ingesting is being absorbed through the intestinal lining into the bloodstream, and it's only one layer thick. And the reason why it's so thin is because of absorption, right? So the absorption happens in the small intestine, and it needs to be thin so that the nutrients can pass it and then can go into your bloodstream right away. I hope this makes sense. So along these cells of your gut lining, your body has stationed thousands and thousands of immune cells, Okay, so all along your digestive lining, there are immune cells, mostly T helper cells. So, first line of defense, mast cells, and so on and so forth. It's honestly almost like it's a whole army of immune cells that your body has stationed there. And why is that? What is the job of those immune cells, right? Their job is that they're constantly surveying what is happening on the gut lining because they know they are the ones who are either allowing molecules to enter the bloodstream or to stay out. They're basically bouncers of your health, right? And so if for some reason, let's say you're eating a tomato, right? Nightshade, a lot of people can't do tomatoes or whatever else, peppers, broccoli, you name it. If you're eating a tomato and it's going into your small intestine, it's being broken down by digestive enzymes in your gut, in hydrochloric acid in your stomach. However, your digestion is not optimal. The molecules that are trying to get into the bloodstream, they're trying to be absorbed, are much larger than a well broken down tomato molecule that is really small and that goes through the intestinal lining for absorption purposes. So now the immune cells on your intestinal lining are not recognizing that food molecule. They are starting to become confused because, especially if that happens over and over and over again, if there's a lot of aggravation, a lot of absorption and digestion issues, your immune system is starting to become activated. It's going to say, wait a second, we are not allowing this. And like we are starting a immune reaction towards this food molecule. And so this is how food sensitivities are starting. And if we are not addressing digestion or absorption at the root cause level, this can happen over and over again to more and more foods. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. And that is honestly what's happening to so many people. So to take that a little bit further is you also, that's an additional point, you can write that down. Not only do you have a gut lining that is like really thin, right, for absorption purposes, you also have little finger-like protrusions. They're called microvilli, and they float inside the intestinal tract. They're attached to the gut lining. Why is that? Because they're there to even further increase the surface space for absorption. Your body needs to absorb a lot of nutrients in order to maintain balance, in order to maintain regular activities, cellular function, things like that. And those finger-like protrusions are there to increase that space. So why am I sharing this with you? I'm sharing that with you because you will understand the connection as to how the gut lining with our microvilli is connected to an increase of inflammation when it comes to food sensitivities. So the microvilli, as your immune system is starting to become activated, is also going to be inflicted. So there is a lot of breakdown of those microvilli that is happening for us with an autoimmune. And you can see that there's a lot of studies out there that actually show you how the microvilli is being stunted. Those finger-like protrusions are actually become really short. And so your absorption rate is dramatically going down. So now you're not only having the issue that the gut lining is starting a response to food molecules that are not properly digested to begin with in the first half of your digestive system, but now you're also starting to have absorption issues, right? So now you have both. Now over time you have created such imbalances in your gut tract that you can eat as healthy as you want, which, by the way, I have a lot of clients that come to me and they eat really, really well. And they have been for many, many years. So in my program, in my 4-month program, I have a lot of women that are actually coaches, trainers themselves, and they say, I know healthy food, like I'm eating healthy food, but my problem is that I can't digest like half of it, and then it gives me so much issues. And then I don't really understand like which nutrients I have to include and which ones to exclude, right? So let me know if that makes sense to you. Let me know if you have a similar experience, right? So now you have a little bit of an understanding as to what is happening on the cellular level when it comes to digestion and absorption, and why it is so important for us to really hone in on that area as the first line of interaction in order for you to get your inflammation down. So in your workbook, I want you to take a look at, let me just pull it up. Okay. So I say the very first step you will have to take in order to tackle your fatigue and inflammation is to optimize your digestion and your absorption. I want to give you 3 tips on how you can get started with this. Okay, so I'm going to give you some ideas here that you can incorporate in order to get started with this. Let me just see my notes. I just want to make sure that I haven't not covered anything I wanted to cover with you. Yeah, so the only other thing I was going to mention before we do that is I really want you to understand that hands down, everybody with an autoimmune response that is not managed really well everyone has some sort of intestinal permeability, leaky gut, intestinal lining issues, microvilli absorption to some extent. I have not seen somebody yet, have not worked with somebody yet who had absolutely no gut issues. Okay, so I really just wanted to hone that in because I want you to understand that all of these tools I'm going to give you, you can use with results 100%. The good news is that your digestive lining is regenerating itself very quickly, actually. So your gut lining is regenerating itself every 5 to 7 days. Now keep in mind that there, like I said, it's a hole the size of a tennis court. There's a lot of cells in there. So it's not going to be like the whole tract will not going to be rejuvenated in 5 to 7 days. But there's certain areas that will really benefit from these tools in a very short time. Okay, so I want you to think about the impact that you can have on supporting your immune system by being able to help rejuvenate it with some simple steps. Okay, so let me just go to the 3 tips now on how you can get started. All right, the first thing is you can do is help your digestion. How do you help your digestion? You can use digestive enzymes. Okay, so there's a couple of things you can do. And it's funny because we had somebody just before I went live ask that question, how do you guys feel about digestive enzymes? Do you take them? Can they help, especially with bloating and things like that? Yes, they can absolutely help with that, right? Because there is such a thing as pancreatic insufficiency, which is another imbalance that can create over time that your pancreas simply can't keep up with pumping out the enzymes because of all of the other imbalances. But we don't have to go down that line. You don't have to worry about that. Everybody with Hashimoto's, I have done that from the very beginning, can take digestive enzymes. Okay, so of course there's supplements, and what you do is basically you're adding digestive enzymes to help your pancreas out that might be overburdened, and it really starts to help break down food a little bit easier for you so that your immune response can come down because the molecules are starting to become better digested. there's also a couple of foods I was going to mention to you guys that actually have digestive enzymes inside the food. All right. So I always like to take pineapple or papaya enzymes. Okay, so either in supplement form, but if you are starting to incorporate pineapples and papayas, you are getting a lot of digestive enzymes just from the food. Okay, so that is one thing that you can do. Another thing you can do is, in order to help a little bit further up, so the digestive enzymes help a little bit further down in your absorption area, a little bit further up is where you have your stomach, and your stomach needs to be highly, highly acidic. Now, a lot of women, believe it or not, and I would probably say that one of you, at least one of you, if not all of you, have low stomach acid. So what I see in my group when I work with clients that are coming my way, we are actually honing in on stomach acid quite a bit in the first couple of weeks. So we are doing a hydrochloric acid test with them. We're doing a transit time test for them. Like, we're getting a really good idea of how their digestion and absorption is functioning, right? But I can honestly say that I haven't seen one person yet who didn't need work on hydrochloric acid. And you can do that very easily with apple cider vinegar. So you can start apple cider vinegar, when you get up in the morning, or you can take it with your meals, or you can take it in the evening. I would probably take it with the meals if you're working on digestion. That is another thing. And the last thing I was going to mention to you is the one of the really most critical things is that you are actually starting to take your time when you're eating. I want you to actually focus on your food when you're eating. So I want you to put away your phone. I want you to look at the food. I want you to chew the food at least 15 times before you swallow it. I don't want you to rush through the meals. I don't want you to swallow full chunks of food down. This can really upset your digestive balance. This puts a burden and a strain on all the following actions inside your digestive tract. That is just such. It allows your body to become more inflamed because you're not taking the time to really mechanically break down your food right in the mouth, which also starts to create digestive juices right in your mouth. If you're only swallowing everything down very quickly, there's a fraction of the digestive juices, the enzymes that are helping you break down your food in the mouth, are being created. 80 to 90% of your carbohydrate intake can be entirely digested inside your mouth if you chew your food properly. Okay, so that is really more of a holistic approach that has helped me personally quite a bit when I started to do the work on myself. Okay, so that is what I was going to share with you. So you can put that in your notebook, those 3 tips. The next step is leaky gut, okay? So understand that once your intestinal lining is starting to rejuvenate, starting to repair, your digestive issues will wind down. Your absorption will increase and your inflammation will soothe. So the many women that I have worked with over time, all of them, I can say hands down, have been slowly been able to reintroduce foods that they have been reacting to for the longest time, right? So how can you help your body to regain an intact gut lining? That is always the question. Everybody knows a lot about leaky gut, and yeah, they've heard it on Instagram, on social media from, I don't know, whoever, naturopathic doctors. But then the question is, how do you actually rejuvenate leaky gut, right? Let me know in the comments if that is something that you always thought about too. Like, that is exactly what I was always thinking about. Okay, so what can I do from a functional food perspective? Okay, so today I want to give you a few functional foods I want to present to you that you can utilize to do just that. And by the way, those functional foods are, it's not something that I pull out of my sleeve. There's actual science and literature behind those foods. I have used them in my own life, in my own body extensively. I teach my clients to use them all day long, and the results speak for themselves. So there is science behind it, but there's also lived experience behind it. Okay, so start taking notes now. So the first thing I was gonna share with you is aloe juice or aloe gel, depending on where your inflammation sits. Let me just, I'll actually have something I was gonna read to you from one of my books here, so that you get a feel for how powerful food can be in this area. Okay, so aloe juice has so many benefits. I can't read the whole thing for you, but let me read a little bit to you so you understand. So aloe juice can act as a antifungal, antibacterial, and antiviral property. Okay, so not only is it soothing on your intestinal lining, it also stimulates cell regeneration because it really soothes and it really has this healing properties on mucosal linings. But it is also antifungal, antibacterial, and antiviral. So whatever other perhaps overgrowth you might have from a bacterial standpoint, which we'll go into more in depth in a second, that can be something that can be helpful at the same time. It aids healing, and it also acts as a laxative. So for some people who have consistent constipation, aloe juice can be extremely helpful to help with that. The second one, as a functional food that I absolutely love is fenugreek. So fenugreek seeds, either sprouted or fenugreek seeds, sprouted or as a supplement. I always like to go food first. Is an absolutely fantastic functional food to help with leaky gut. It lubricates the intestines. It can also reduce fever, by the way. It can help lower cholesterol and blood sugar levels. So all of these things, let me know if it rings, or if you can make that connection. But I see it in my practice every day, is that a lot of women with thyroid issues, Hashimoto's, all of a sudden have issues with their cholesterol levels that are going up. They're having issues with fatty liver. They're starting to have issues with blood sugar levels. All of these things, and it's all connected. And fenugreek has such a wonderful mechanism that it can really help with all of these issues. So it's a wonderful functional food you can start to incorporate right away. And the last one I was gonna share with you is licorice. So licorice is a fantastic functional food when it comes to gut healing, in terms of gut lining. There's so much going on for licorice. I can't even read the whole thing to you, but what it really does, it fights inflammation, also viral, bacterial, and parasitic infections. So very helpful for that. And it also cleanses the colon. Okay, it reduces muscle spasms, and it promotes adrenal gland function. So that's another thing we're talking about in this challenge. And it helps to inhibit the formation of plaque and preventing bacteria. So it can really help to bring down the imbalance of good and bad bacteria, which we're going to be going into a little bit next. But it also soothes and also repairs, fights inflammation, is antibacterial, antiviral, all of the good things. So the only thing I'll say is that if you are having issues with high blood pressure, you want to get the version that is the deglycerinated version. I think that's how you say it, where that part has been removed from the plant, so it's not going to increase your blood pressure. Okay. All right. Let me know. Okay. Shima says, I can see you through my iPad. I can't wait to rewatch. And I got leaky gut. Yes. Very common. Like I said before, I think there's not one person I have spoken with in the past 5 years since I've been doing that did not have any sort of issues with leaky gut. Okay, so let me know if you have any more questions with regards to that. I gave you some really good ideas here on how you can start with the intestine permeability, aka leaky gut. You can put that in your workbook, and then you can go from there. The second part to your gut health is the part 2 is your gut microbiome. Okay, so now let me know in the comments if you have heard about the gut microbiome before. I'm going to give you a few seconds here. Or if that is a new concept for you. Let me know, okay? Because we're going to be diving into that a little bit more. So now that you understand a little bit more about how digestion and absorption is so critical, when we're starting to, nourish ourselves, like from the mouth onwards all the way down to the gut, now we're moving into the colon area. Okay, Anne says, yes, she has heard of it. Okay, amazing. Now we're moving into the colon area, which is your gut microbiome. Gut microbiome means your colon is the home of trillions and trillions of gut bacteria, okay? So basically they call it your second immune system now that is sitting in the gut. Those bacteria have a vast amount of tasks they are actually finding out they are involved in. Like you wouldn't believe. I mean, they're when they communicate with each other, those bacteria, they are creating metabolites that are actually messaging to your brain. I mean, it's almost like sci-fi. It's super cool, but it's real, like it's true. And so I want you to understand that when we're talking with the gut microbiome, is that we're talking about those pathogenic versus friendly bacteria. I want you to know that your gut microbiome is so diverse. There's not just a few strains of bacteria in there. There is trillions of them in there. So if you're starting to take a probiotic, which is, you can do that, it's helpful sometimes, but popping a probiotic in order to help that imbalance of good to bad bacteria in your gut is not going to do it. Because how many strains does one probiotic have? Maybe 12 to 15, 50 billion, maybe up to 100 billion. That's a drop in the bucket, right? So the real change that you can make here is with food. Long-term, consistently, every day. That is what I teach my clients in the Hashimoto's fatigue solution. There's a lot of different foods that you can take in order to help with that, which we'll talk about in a minute. Okay, so the gut microbiome is actually 90% microbes, bacteria, yeast, and fungi, and only 10% human DNA. Okay, it's incredible. So it's really, it's not that much human DNA in your gut. And all of those microbes, they have multiple tasks and beneficial interactions for us humans. We are basically literally run by bacteria down there, okay? So now the issue with autoimmune disease is that the diverse microbiome that, should be established from day one, oftentimes is being decimated to to really high imbalanced proportions of beneficial versus pathogenic bacteria. So that a lot of pathogenic bacteria are starting to thrive and cause inflammation by spewing out inflammatory metabolites. And then this is called dysbiosis. So now there's always the question about how did that happen? And there is a lot of triggers that can create such imbalances. And the biggest triggers are, and you can write that down in your workbook. Number one are antibiotics. So it has been shown that if you have been taking just one round of antibiotic once, it's going to take over a year for your gut microbiome to recover 60 to 70%. That's really, really harsh to hear, because a lot of times we're being put on so many antibiotics that are just literally killing our microbiome down there. So one of the biggest decimators. Let me know if you have been taking a lot of antibiotics in your past. Of course, processed foods is another one, but then also gut infections, right? So a lot of gut infections, food poisoning, things like that. There's a lot of triggers that can really increase the dysbiosis over many years, over time, that can just, incrementally bring down the level of good bacteria versus bad bacteria. So, like I said, this imbalance is called dysbiosis, and the dysbiosis can have severe effects on us. So sometimes we're wondering, where all of this bloating is coming from, and like where all of these stomach pains are coming from, but especially the bloating and the constipation and all of that stuff. There's a lot of overgrowth. I see a lot of candida overgrowth. Sometimes there's SIBO involved. Lots of bloating, gas, constipation, stomach pains, you name it. And that can really, really, hinder your recovery, because your inflammation is just going through the roof just by having the dysbiosis. Okay. So let me know if you kind of like understand and get a sense of what those microbes do for us in the gut down there. So they need to be in a good balance. You need to nourish the gut microbiome, because the interaction between the good and the bad bacteria are creating healthy acids. So one of them is butyric acid, like healthy metabolites that are anti-inflammatory. So a lot of anti-inflammatory metabolites are being created by the balanced interaction of good versus bad bacteria. So we want all of that in our system. So we need to really support our gut microbiome. Okay. So Janice says she has heard of microbiome probiotics. There is hundreds of different products out there. That's not to say that I don't like probiotics. Like a lot of times I suggest specific probiotics to my clients, because I know that they can make a difference. But we have to always start with food first, because we eat every day, and there is so much that we can do with food in order to help our gut microbiome to thrive. So there are 3 different foods that can really help your microbiome to thrive. I'm going to be listing them to you now, so you can take you can put that in your notebook. The number 1 is prebiotic foods. So prebiotic foods. The second one is probiotic foods. Okay, so here's the probiotic, but in foods. And the third one is a variety of different fibers. Okay, so that is actually something that we discuss in depth in my Hashimoto's Fatigue Solution program, so that my clients get a really good sense of the amount of prebiotic, what are prebiotic foods, the amount, how to cook them, if you are reacting to them, because you can cook foods in a specific way for your body to digest them better, so you're not reacting. You want to feed your bacteria with prebiotic foods. Prebiotic foods means that you are feeding your gut bacteria. That is what prebiotic food is, okay? And that is a lot of starchy foods, actually. A lot of carbohydrate-rich foods, which a lot of us are being told to cut out because apparently it's not good for us. Unfortunately, when we're doing that, we're cutting out a lot of prebiotic foods that our gut microbiome needs in order to heal. So it's always really shocking for me to see when there is the black and white that is being promoted in the autoimmune nutrition space, because of symptom relief only, without understanding, okay, we need these foods in order for long-term health and for long-term, inflammatory responses to come down for us. So prebiotic foods. The second one is probiotic foods. So probiotic foods is food that includes live bacteria. So basically like a probiotic supplement. However, you are taking, you're eating fermented foods. That is basically what that is. And there's a ton of different fermented foods that you can add. In my program, I teach my clients the exact amount, how much fermented foods they should be eating on a daily, regular basis in order for them to get a consistent amount of, millions and billions and trillions of bacteria into their gut. Okay, so there's sometimes, if you have a histamine response, you have to tweak that a little bit depending on where you're at in your health. But you can definitely try to bring in probiotic foods more and more, and the prebiotic foods too. And the third one that your gut microbiome loves is a variety of different fibers. Okay, so fibers are key. Okay, and fibers are not just found in grains and things like that, but they're also mostly found in vegetables, right? So we need to really increase our levels of vegetables or different fibers. And there's so many different fibers that I'm actually talking about with my group. There's mucilaginous fibers that have that gel-like capacity to soothe. There's like different sorts of fibers that help clean out your bowels. There's fibers that help feed your bacteria. There's a lot of different fibers, but for our purposes tonight, I want you to take a look at your fiber intake, and I want you to up that by at least 5 grams per day. Okay, so if you can do that, then you're starting to be golden. All right, so prebiotic food, probiotic food, and different fiber foods are essential to reverse gut dysbiosis. Long term, get rid of bloating, gas, constipation, and things like that. All right, let me know if that makes sense and if you have any more questions. Okay. Okay, so so now we have covered the 2 most important areas within your gut health that you need to address from the very beginning and consistently throughout your life in order to reduce inflammation, reduce brain fog, bring up energy, reduce joint pain, and get rid of weight as well. So your gut health has all of these components that I just mentioned. It's very important to support your gut. Working on your digestion and absorption, number 1. then working on your gut microbiome, your dysbiosis. Number 2, in combination, I want to kind of like summarize this for you. In combination, when you do this work on your gut, now that you have that really good understanding of the root causes from those both areas that keep you from, being able to digest foods very well, and that continue to have you react to foods. When you are dialing in your absorption, when you're dialing in your digestion, when you are supporting your gut health, can you imagine the balance that you're bringing back to your digestive tract over time? And remember, your gut lining is being rejuvenated every 5 to 7 days. So every 5 to 7 days, you get a new opportunity to heal another section of your digestive tract. It's incredible the power that you have to make positive, long-lasting changes in creating a resilient gut. And remember, your second immune system sits in your gut, your microbiome, which means you are creating a resilient immune system. So when everybody tells you to go on an elimination diet for life, long term, I would run the the other way quite quickly, because you want to do the exact opposite of what everyone is telling you in cutting down all of the foods for life. If you are continuing to do this, you are continuing to undernourish every cell in your body, because you're not addressing your absorption. Your absorption is low to begin with. You are depriving your immune system of nutrients that are needed in order to rebuild healthy cells, such as your gut lining, but you're also depriving your gut microbiome of nutrients and your gut microbiome of becoming back into balance and having those wonderful interactions that create anti-inflammatory properties just by itself in your gut. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're starting to include as many nutrients as possible in the beginning in a safe way. And this is exactly what I do with my clients. They're most of the time very hesitant, and I understand if you're hesitant too, in saying, but I'm reacting to all of these foods. I know, I understand, and we are going to be going very slowly by introducing these things in a specific way, specific cooking, specific some sprouting maybe. There's a lot of different things that you can do. Okay. How can I now support you in trying to make these changes on your own after this session? Okay. Because I can't teach you in all of these different things. That would take like weeks and weeks and weeks, right? So there's one powerful strategy that I have kind of adopted from one of the leading experts in therapeutic nutrition, and his name is Dr. William Li. You should check him out. He's amazing. He calls this method 5 by 5 by 5, and he comes from like the cancer space, right? So I have adopted this, and I call mine the 3 by 3 by 3 method. Okay. So your homework for tonight will be, under the homework thread, I want you to choose one of the foods that we talked about tonight, one of the functional foods, either to help heal your gut lining or your gut microbiome, and start to include those foods this week. The second part of the homework for you is to take a look in your workbook at the 3 by 3 by 3 methodology, and start to jot in the foods that are explained in that worksheet on how to do that, and how you can increase your nutrient density and nutrient variety. Okay. If you have any questions about that, if you feel that you're not quite sure how to do it, reach out to Janelle. She can help you. And I can help you too. You can hop on a breakthrough call with me, which is complimentary this week. And we can actually, in a 30-minute session, we can sit and we can jot this out together, right? So that you can really, that you have a full understanding of how that can work for you specifically, depending on your own digestive issues. Okay. So there is three more tips that I actually wanted to share with you. That's a little bit of a bonus here. So I want you to start to help your body to break down foods for absorption, if you're starting to include new foods. Okay, so the number one tip that I can give you is to eat less of raw foods. So raw foods are very, very difficult to digest, very difficult. And I want you to focus on steamed, broiled, and cooked veggies and fruit. Okay, so try that. And the second one is I want you to think about starting digestive enzymes with every meal to further help your body to digest the food, which we discussed prior. And that can be also papaya enzymes or pineapple enzymes. Okay. So what are you doing here is you are basically diversifying your nutrient density with the 3x3 method. Okay. This week, you also have a meal plan you can use, right? There's a lot of food that I have included in there. Prebiotic food, probiotic food, fibers, all of the good stuff that we talked about are included in there. Just follow the meal plan, maybe post some pictures of the stuff that you're preparing in the kitchen. I'd be very happy if you did that and posted that in the group. So you are increasing your nutrient density to help you support your immune system along. And you also help your gut lining and you nourish your microbiome, which is your second immune system in your gut. Okay, so let me know in the comments if all of that makes sense to you. If you have any further questions, please put them in the comments and we will get back to you in answering them, either Janelle or myself. So right now, what I want you guys to do is I want you to look out for the homework thread that goes up now in the group. I want you to put in the homework. I want you to follow that little mini protocol that we talked about today. You have learned a lot today. So if you feel overwhelmed, confused, or anything like that, reach out. Or also share in the comments if you feel excited about getting started and having really more clarity right now around the gut health Hashimoto's inflammation connection. So I'd be happy to hear that. So give me your input as to what you think about this session. So, and then I want you to reach out to Janelle and book in your free breakthrough call. It's complimentary again for this week, like I said. And before I let you go, I wanted to say thank you for joining me tonight. I'm super excited to get you started on this. Please let us know how things are improving for you, how things are going for you within this week. And I will see you. Excited to start implementing everything. I'm so happy for you. And yes, and let us know. Please do share how things are going. And I will see you again tomorrow for day 2, which will be all about detoxification and drainage pathways. All right, everybody. Okay, thank you so much for joining me and have a wonderful rest of your evening and go do the work now. I'll see you tomorrow.